We are very glad and fortunate to have His Grace Antardvipa with us. I'll just give brief introduction. Prabhuji, he's from Delhi. He did his BTech in electronics and electrical communication and MTech in automation and computer vision from IIT Kharagpur. He was among the first 5 in his batch all throughout. And then later Prabhuji worked in NVIDIA Graphics. It's a world's #1 company in the field of manufacturing high-end graphics processor units for computers. And he even filed a patent in his 1.5 year service in the company. Then he has been part of Voice from 2001, and understanding the value of the deep message of Voice for the whole world, he decided to dedicate his life for the important cause. So he has rendered many services for Voice. He served as an overall coordinator of IIT Kharagpur those days, and now he serves as a Voice chairman, and he organizes camps centrally for all youth centers and assists His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu in Voice preaching. He also counsels youth to lead a balanced, God-conscious lifestyle. So recently, Prabhuji took a Madhukari Yatra, and then we got an email from Radheshyam Prabhu. I'd like to read something from it. It was very, very inspiring when we got this email.
No need to reshare that.
Okay, I'll just few sentences, Prabhuji. They will learn. So Prabhuji writes there, I have no words to express my joy to when I read the report of His Grace Antardvipa Prabhu. He carries the mood of idle sadhu in thoughts, words, and deed, and has no iota of interest in name, fame, glory, or any privileges. He simply wants to serve and serve in the exact mood that his spiritual master, His Honorable Radha Maharaj, describes in his lecture. I consider him an ideal PDC leader for sadhu. And then Prabhuji writes, I have handed over Voice chairmanship to him, especially because the top fellows have the simply reflect such qualities. Then Prabhuji describes many qualities which are there in Srimad Bhagavatam 8.19.26. In some of them, he says there that that he aligns with the Srila Prabhupada teachings, moods, and mission in reaching out oneself for Harinam, Sankirtan, book distribution, preaching, and making devotees and expanding the Krishna consciousness movement, sheltering devotees who are serving Srila Prabhupada mission. And then Prabhuji writes, he is a jewel, and you all can take nice advantage of his association by inviting him to teach any such values. And all these years, His Grace Antardvipa Prabhu has been serving by Prabhuji's side and simply fulfilling all desires to expand Krishna consciousness by offering the best service, like making system for the youth to be trained and protected, guiding youth preachers, coordinating huge camps like right now you can see Utkarsh camp is going for our first year boys, then maintaining central Voice and budgeting and sanctioning funds for preaching, helping in bringing preaching materials such as books, videos, guidelines, etc. throughout the YouTube and website, arranging Radheshyam's travels and trips, and many other services. So we are very fortunate to have His Grace Antardvipa Prabhu with us, who has one of heart of many senior Vaishnavas. He has kindly agreed to give time for all of us. So please take full advantage. I'll like to welcome Prabhuji. Let us all welcome Prabhuji by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your kind introduction, which was quite embarrassing for me, but I think you're encouraging me in my devotion service. Okay. So, chant prayers and then we'll begin. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanutanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So I'm very glad to be with all of you today on this forum of all Hyderabad devotees, yoga voices where from, and trying to share a subject, very important subject. I personally feel very enlivened to discuss on it. Yeah, so all devotees can keep their videos on and like, yeah, okay, yeah. So it is very important subject. The topic for today is what is realization and what it is not. You know? So it is a subject that uh, is vital for our Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada brings a very beautiful discussion about it in one of the purports, which basically is being discussed here in the fourth, fourth chapter of first canto, 1.4. I'll just recite that for the purpose of all Vaishnavas to get joy of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Then we'll get into the purport. Mm, Share screen. Okay. So this is 1.4.1. Maybe we can have one recitation. You can unmute your mics. Vyasuvacha
व्यासोवाच
iti dhruvanam samstuya
इति ब्रुवाणं संस्तूय
muninam dirghasatrinam
मुनीनां दीर्घसत्रिणां
Vidya Kulapati Sutam
कुलपतिसुतं
Pati Sutam
Bhavricha Shaunako Bravit.
शौनको ब्रवीत्
Bravit.
So the translation goes like this. Sri Vyasadeva said, on hearing Suta Goswami speak, thus Shaunak Muni, who was elderly, learned leader of all the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. In the purport, Prabhupada, okay, I'll read it as it is. In a meeting of learned men, when there are congratulations or addresses for the speaker, the qualifications of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Sri Shaunak Rishi had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Srila Suta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from Shukdev Goswami and also realized it personally. Now comes the discussion on personal realization. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous Acharya. One must have full confidence in the previous Acharya, and at the same time, one must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Shaunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker, Sri Shuddha Goswami, simply by his uttering Yatha Ditam and Yatha Mati, in the previous verse. And therefore, Shaunaka was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original Acharya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting where the Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of Bhagavatam so that its real purpose can be served and Lord Krishna can be realized without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation will be for ulterior purposes, and such recitation is useless labor both for the speaker and for the audience. So, uh, this subject of personal realization, we'll get into sentence by sentence what it really brings up. So many devotees ask this kind of a question: what is personal realization? I want to also get realizations in life, and actually, realization is something that gives us the strength to go on in Krishna consciousness. It is the treasure of the Vaishnava. So it is very important to really know what is a true realization and what may be something which we are thinking it is a realization, but it's not. And here Prabhupada is very beautifully bringing out some vital principles to understand in that context. I'll share a PPT which is just bullet points on the same so as to help us discuss point by point. Are you able to see the PPT now? Maybe in half a minute.
Yes, Roji.
Okay. So personal realization does not mean that one should out of vanity attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met, when Vallabhacharya told that I have written a commentary which is better than Sridhar Swami, so then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not very pleased with that idea. He first told that he was not very happy to hear that, and he was not wanting to hear that. And when he was very much pressing, then Vallabhacharya was told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one who does not accept the Swami is a prostitute. So that was very heavy for Vallabhacharya. Of course, Vallabhacharya is also a very great personality. He's the one of the very important acharyas of another sampradaya. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Vallabhacharya basically was trying to see Sridhar Swami has attempted. He has written a commentary which is having lot of mm, uh, help for Mayavadis and all those kind of people also to come into the fold of devotion service gradually. And what what Vallabhacharya had written as a commentary was more for relish of devotee type, people who are devotees, they can relish that. But so as such, the desire to write something beautiful for the devotees to relish, not so much to make Mayavadis come into devotional service, that is not a wrong thing. But the idea that I've written a better commentary, that was not proper actually. So that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to change in his thought process. And immediately after that, actually Vallabhacharya became very introspective and changed himself. And then his heart was immediately Lord went to his home also for prasadam. So the idea is that we should not carry such a thought that I am better than the previous acharya. Like Srila Prabhupada preached all over the world, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur preached all over India. But Prabhupada never told that I am better than Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He always felt Tara Ichha Balavan, He said, your Ichha, O Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, because of your Ichha, whatever I am doing is happening. In fact, in one of the previous, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, when Nityananda Prabhu was told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you please go to Bengal, I cannot go to Bengal. You go to Bengal. I am a sannyasi and I am staying here, but I cannot preach in many places because of the sannyas order. But you go and preach to everyone, one and all. And Nityananda Prabhu would go even into, like people where they're drinking and all that, and he would make them also devotees. So when that purport in that purport, Prabhupada writes actually that the desire of the previous acharyas is that the next successive generations do bigger things than what they have been able to do. So by their mercy, by their blessing, the next generations will do even more. So this thing has to be appreciated and understood and realized in our own hearts that we are actually doing the service, whatever we are doing, because the desire of the previous acharya has made it empowered. Even Bhakti Thakur would say, actually, I am like Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj was Babaji, but he said actually he's the engine of my whole boat. He's actually doing the whole thing. His chanting is making everything happen because he chanted so powerfully, and that is empowering me to do some service to make this happen, preaching. So he never thought that I am so better than Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, that he did not preach, I am preaching. Actually, we depend on the previous acharyas, shelter, blessings. This movement is not running on some kind of a just a logical presentation of some subject. We can present some subject in a very interesting manner, and sometimes coming from a very intellectual background, from a very external accomplishment based background, then people don't understand this paradigm of working. They think that this ISKCON world is functioning based on some kind of very powerful preaching tools and techniques and strategies and some kind of nice presentation styles. क्या बोला अरे ऐसा पंच मारेंगे कि वो खत्म हो जाएगा उसको. So this kind of a approach is not the approach of a Vaishnava. This approach is not proper. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was told by all the Vaishnavas told, please write the wonderful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So he first went to Madan Mohanji, and there, as soon as he went there, Madan Mohanji's garland fell, and there the pujari of the temple immediately brought it and garlanded, you know, Krishnadas Kaviraj. That was first sign was Vaishnavas are blessing me to write. Prabhupada writes that transcendental literatures cannot be written based on mundane intelligence, mundane thought process. It has to be based on the blessings of the previous acharyas and the Vaishnavas. No one is allowed to write transcendental literatures like that. And then he took the blessings of all the Vaishnavas explicitly. He went actually, apart from Madan Mohan's blessings. That Madan Mohan's blessing was a first signal that he got that yes, Lord wants me to write. And then eventually he went to all the Vaishnavas, and all the Vaishnavas blessed him. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami said that if you don't write about me, and Bhogar Goswami also told that if you don't write about me, then I will give you my blessing, like that. Bhogar or sorry, Loknath Goswami, I believe. Huh? So Loknath Goswami told. Bhugarga and Loknath Goswami are thick friends. Before the six Goswamis came, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, these two personalities were there in Vrindavan. So anyway, Loknath Goswami also told same. So the Vaishnavas, they are not here to do something big. Actually, Gaurang Prabhu was sharing very beautifully on this same pastime of Krishnadas Kaviraj. He said that no one who thought he will do lot of great things, you know, I am made to do great things. No such person has done any great thing in our movement actually. But a person who was submitted to the great souls and wanted to just make them very happy by doing whatever best he can. Such people have actually done very great things. You know? So the empowerment. See, Srila Prabhupada felt himself very very humble, meek servant of the previous acharyas. He said, "I am simply a non-entity. I am simply trying to blindly follow my spiritual master." He told me to print books. So first of all, print. Like one time, one devotee said that one devotee disciple is asking for some loan from BBT, so we'll have to pause the printing. And Prabhupada said, printing is first. First books. This is our policy. Immediately he became very strong. First books, because he remembers Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. He had told that see, I would sell this Bagh Bazaar Mandir also. Because the books are the very important thing. Let the marble be sold off and books be printed. So he understood that BBT should never get compromised for making temples. So Prabhupada is not trying to envisage on a mission that is coming from his own fertile brain. His whole mission is based on the two instructions he received from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was told that whenever you get money, print books. You know? And he said you should write. You should write. You should go to the Western world. So you should preach in the Western world in the English language. So these two instructions. One is about writing and print books, and another is about go to the Western world and preach in the English language. So Prabhupada did both. He made BBT and ISKCON, two instructions, two powerful institutions, and both are going so beautifully because it was just a manifestation of desire of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. When he had to make a managerial body, he just copy pasted what Bhaktivinoda Thakur had given a blueprint, and from there Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had made it happen. He had made the word GBC, governing body, commission, and Srila Prabhupada copied it completely. He just said, "This is what we have to do. My master has told me we should do this." And he was trying to first do that with his other god brothers also. But unfortunately, or somehow by will of the Lord, that did not come through. The other god brothers did not cooperate to make a united team for preaching. So Prabhupada was open to the whole thing run as Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur being the center of the whole program. But when that did not come through, then he had to take the role, and below him he empowered the same kind of a modus operandi. He is just an instrument of the previous acharya, and that way he was seeing himself, although he is the Senapati Bhakta. See, he is the greatest of the masters who has preached all over the world. All the predictions of the previous acharya that it will go all over the world is being manifested by Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada is seeing himself as a humble menial servant of the previous acharyas. If you see in Nectar of Instruction preface, Prabhupada writes, this Krishna consciousness movement is working under the direct supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. Now think about it. If you're writing a book, if you are writing a book, so you may be thinking, कैसे उसको ऐसे defeat करेंगे, वैसा करेंगे, कैसे लिखेंगे. But his heart is filled with Rupa Goswami's, desire. What Rupa Goswami wants. He is not working like some, independent person who is just manifesting a very powerful movement. He is only seeing himself as a servant of the previous acharyas. So that is why, forget about surpassing the previous acharya. Actually, the empowerment to write anything or to have any realization comes only by subordination to the previous acharya. Like we hear the sentence tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena seva. So we cannot have knowledge without pranipat. So if someone has a mentality of surpassing previous acharya, he cannot have realization because first point only is lost. Pranipat is not there. Whatever pariprashna is there is just to make his intellect go up and falsi also go up. So unless someone has digested this principle, like recently one devotee was asking in when he was asking, he's taking some Bhagavad Gita classes for outside boys. So there in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, around fourth or fifth verse, it comes that Arjuna is saying that one should not even speak harshly to a elderly person, to his own elders. What to talk of injuring them or killing them. He's talking about Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya, and then this boy started arguing with our preacher that how ऐसा कैसे अगर कुछ गलत बोलते हैं तो कुछ बोलना ही चाहिए and ऐसा थोड़ी होता है हम whatever is right we should tell. So he was not able to digest the point that actually that devotee said, yeah, you can share, but with the proper etiquette you should share the point but then he said, अरे ऐसे कैसे होता है if he's wrong, he's wrong. So, these people who think that they know, they don't know where the ultimate truth lies. The ultimate truth doesn't lie in jnana. The ultimate truth lies in relationships. Bhakti is a relationship. Bhakti is not only jnana. Jnana should bring us Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudeva. But if jnana remains independent of relationship, we think I know better than him. Okay, you may know better than him on knowledge platform, but when the knowledge has to be applied, you will be butchered by Maya, because we have not got the blessing. Actually, why Sevaya is important, why Pranipat is important, not just Pariprashna, because actually realizations are transferred from a great soul. You know, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Only a person who has Shraddha in the great souls will get jnana. Otherwise, the jnana will remain only a theoretical thing in the world. You know, so many, we also know, we can prove to others also Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But Prabhupada asked the topmost GVC body that, that do you have faith in that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God? And Prabhupada was looking into their eyes. And then they were like, my God, Prabhupada is watching me. If I say yes, then no, he knows all in and out. So then, Prabhupada, then they were like little bit hesitant to say no or yes. So then Prabhupada said, if all the devotees who are today there in ISKCON movement, if they have full conviction that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will conquer the whole world in 18 days. So that is the power of realization. So this is not possible simply by becoming some GBC also, actually, Guru also. Actually, realization is an inner conviction of the heart. Of course, GBCs and Gurus are very respectable and very realized personalities, but I'm saying just by taking a post in the world of ISKCON doesn't give us the realization. You know, sometimes I have seen in voices, of course, GBCs, current GBCs are very realized. I'm not trying to undermine that, but what post wise, like sometimes devotees become even project managers in our voices. And I've seen sometimes when they go to job stage, then they feel मेरा जॉब नहीं लगा, भगवान ने ऐसा कैसे कर दिया, फिर वो bewilder होके बेचारा उसका भक्ति चला जाता है ना. So that means what? He could not realize bhakti. He was just sharing externally the information of bhakti. Otherwise, how can one leave the process which is eternal? If you realize the point that जीव कृष्ण दास यही विश्वास कर ले तो आज दुख नहीं, अभी क्या करेगा? अरे मैं भगवान का ही दास हूँ, इटर्नल दास हूँ, अभी कुछ कर नहीं सकता और चाहे अगर मैं माया में भी जाऊंगा तो माया का दास मतलब भगवान का दास की तरह कृष्ण को के सेंसेस को खुश नहीं कर रहा, तो इसलिए माया की तरफ घुस रहा हूँ. तो समझ जाएगा कि माया क्यों पकड़ रही है, क्योंकि मैंने कृष्ण को खुश नहीं किया है. मेरे मम्मी पापा राधा कृष्ण मुझसे खुश नहीं है, इसलिए मेरे को अभी माया पकड़ रही है. वो ये नहीं सोचेगा कि अरे माया कितनी अच्छी है, ये तो बेकार की बातें बोलते हैं. दैट मीन्स ही नॉट गॉट a basic strength of understanding where is his original position. So no one can leave Krishna consciousness if he has got a basic realization that I am Krishna's servant eternally. So the point is, we can go through weakness at some stages, but we cannot leave if we have realized this principle. So this realizations is not an easy thing, actually. So if someone has vanity, then he will try to surpass the previous acharyas. So sometimes people write books on their own, but they don't have blessings of superiors. Sometimes they think superiors do not know. They go to Radha Kund and they want to get some special realizations which acharyas may. Sometimes they surpass Prabhupada and say we'll read Bhaktivinoda Thakur Jaiv Dharma or such things. So this kind of things, actually Jaiv Dharma is a very beautiful book, but it has to be read after blessings. Like that, like Bhakti Prem Maharaj was recently giving us a class, and he was saying that I always read Prabhupada books. And one time when I saw Harinam Chintamani, which is written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a discussion of Haridas Thakur, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written the book. So he felt that this is one book I want to read. So he went to Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj and he said that, Maharaj, can I read this one book? I'm feeling tempted to read this book. See, it's a bona fide book, and he is a very exalted devotee also. But still, to read another book, he was taking permission. So one doesn't feel that. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he got the prema vikars also, he was feeling, chanting of the holy name was giving him so much ecstasy. So he was going pagal. Japite japite hoile pagal. So he went to his spiritual master Ishwarapuri. किबो मंत्र दिला गोसाई. Oh my dear Goswami ji, क्या मंत्र दिया आपने? जपते जपते होइले पागल. So he is thinking कुछ गलत तो नहीं हो गया, मैंने कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं कर दिया. Is it proper? What is going on? Is this if the medicine is acting, is my disease getting reduced या कुछ गलत गड़बड़ हो गया? He is not thinking, देखो मैं कितना special हूँ. Imagine any of us develops ecstasy symptoms. What will think? देखा अभी कितना बढ़िया हूँ मैं. No, we'll feel I am special. but he is feeling, let me confirm with my spiritual master whether this I am taking the proper medicine or should I change the way of working. So one lives always as a sadhaka, even as a great master actually. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is not thinking I am beyond the Guru. He is rather taking shelter of the Guru even in ecstasy stage. Then what is the meaning of surpassing the Guru? There is no possibility of it. In fact, one place Srila Prabhupada writes that this verse is there, na? Pratyaksha avagamam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. So he says Pratyaksha avagamam dharmyam. The Rajavidya Rajaguyam pavitram idam uttamam. So this Rajavidya Pratyaksha avagamam dharmyam. It will actually come to you directly, but it comes, Prabhupada writes, through the via media of the spiritual master. It is the blessing of the spiritual master which awards it. So we have to have always this sense of dependence that through these relationships only I can access realizations. So personal realization cannot be at the cost of surpassing the previous aspects. It cannot, it is not a realization, it is simply some figment of imagination only that no one is thinking it's a realization. And if someone actually had realizations, but he does Vaishnava Aparadh, then he loses realizations. He can like there was this Roop Narayana, Roop Kaviraj. Can you correct Tarun? Roop? He
Rup
was
Kaviraj.
Roop Kaviraj. So he was actually he was ecstatically situated. He was already on Bhava platform, and he was getting symptoms of ecstasy. But he actually offended, Ganga Mata Goswami. She was having so much ecstasy of chanting holy name that she can't stop chanting. So in his lecture, her mouth was involuntarily moving to chant holy name. So he thought this is too much, अरे मेरे लेक्चर में कुछ और कुछ बड़बड़ बड़बड़. So he said you cannot chant like this, so he offended her, and because of that he lost the grace of the parampara, and then he became eventually apasampradaya. He lost all the whole, he became he eventually became a ghost also, so one should know that one should not think he is ever so great. Even if one gets realization, one should not think he's so great that he offends Vaishnavas. So realizations are born and preserved by the shelter of the Vaishnavas. They are not born without the shelter of Vaishnavas. They are not preserved without the shelter of Vaishnavas. And in fact, further realizations will come. More we one of the realization. See, one of the realization which should come with our realization is that this is all by the blessings of the Vaishnavas. So if mercy is coming into our lives to give us realization, that is the first installment of mercy. And the other installment of mercy which should come is that it's all happening by mercy. That will preserve the realization. Otherwise, when we become proud of realization, then they will leak out because of offenses, because of a non-shelter taking process that we become, we think that now I'm great. So then we don't genuinely take shelter of holy name, of the Vaishnavas. Then we think I am better than others. So then we lose the realization actually. So Radhanath Maharaj says, theoretical knowledge and service attitude, theoretical knowledge, if you have catalyst of service attitude, you will develop realized knowledge. And realized knowledge, if you develop pride, you come back to theoretical knowledge. In chemistry we used to do this equilibrium. So there was a forward catalyst, backward catalyst. So from theoretical knowledge to realized knowledge, the forward catalyst is service attitude, and the backward catalyst from realized knowledge to theoretical knowledge is pride. So when there is vanity, then we can not actually get the joy of realized knowledge. So second point which Prabhupada is writing is, a preacher should have full confidence in the previous acharyas, must realize the subject matter nicely, and can present the matter for the particular circumstance in a suitable manner. So he has full confidence in the previous acharyas. Like Srila Prabhupada, I was hearing Badrinath Maharaj's lecture on books are the basis recently, Shravanam week. So he was telling that he was one time chanting where Prabhupada is there, and Prabhupada is in the night at 1 o'clock or so when he starts translating. So he got up and he was just chanting below the window, somewhere outside. Like Prabhupada's window is above, and he's chanting below in some balcony somewhere, and he's chanting Hare Krishna, and he saw light went on, and then he saw Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is writing a purport, and sorry, speaking a purport, and then he pauses the purport, and then he takes out one book, and then he pauses again after speaking something, and then he takes out another book. For one purport, he consulted 5, 6, 7 books to previous acharyas. So why Prabhupada is doing this? Because he has full conviction in the previous acharyas. He doesn't want to make his own stand. In fact, after you grow a little more, you will see you have, if you're reading Prabhupada books regularly, you will also get chance to read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidya Bhushan and all. So you will see Prabhupada has embedded all those teachings in a very, very amazing way, and also brought the practical situation of modern world relevance to us. So the previous acharya, the foundation of the previous acharya in our own realization gives it authenticity, and it doesn't mean that the person becomes just a mechanical he's transferring something to the other people. He himself deliberates on it, understands it, realizes it. You know, so reflection and practice of it, and by application, and then eventually getting realization by the mercy of the previous acharya. Then he will share it with great joy. You know, so first is Shravanam. I will share about this a little later also, but I'm briefly mentioning here that there is Shravanam and then Mananam, and then after Mananam, that is reflection. One is actually Nididhyasanam, where he's absorbed in trying to apply it. And when he applies it, then he understands that I cannot get to perfect, I cannot apply it properly because there is a struggle for a Vaishnava. But then he does Vandanam. He applies and he prays to the previous acharyas. And by the mercy of the previous acharyas, he gets a realization. Then he does Kirtanam. Then he knows how to, speak the subject in a practical manner for everyone. And that's what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada, you see, if you see the contrast, Srila Prabhupada and one god brother who was sent to the West in London. When he came back from London, that he had made Lord's, he had went to Lord Zetland, one big man in British world, and he wanted to become a Brahmana. And when he told that you have to follow 4 regs, then he said, no, no, forget it, impossible. And then eventually this person had come to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and told that your formula does not work. You know? So whose formula does not work? He is telling his own spiritual master's formula. So this means what? His confidence in the previous acharya is getting lost because he tried to transfer it. Now he tried to transfer in one way and it was told no by that person. So then he thought that ऐसे करने से correct पृथ्वी ते अच्छे ऐसा नगराधिग्राम नहीं चलने वाला है अरे ये सब बिल्कुल मलेचाल हो गए नहीं समझ सकते. But actually the formula will work. We don't have the realization of how the formula works. When Srila Prabhupada went, it is not that he was meeting some very educated, very high-fi fellows or very gentlemanly people. He met hippies. The only gentleman coming to the whole program was Jayanand Prabhu. All other people were hippies only, all types of, styles of hair and dresses, and sometimes no dress only, and sometimes, with a girlfriend around the neck, and sometimes smoking, drinking on drugs also, and everything, and dancing in the kirtan. Maja aa raha hai wo, no? Can you imagine an acharya of Vrindavan from Radha Damodar Mandir getting up and just going into the west after facing 2 heart attacks and meeting these hippie fellows? Kya encouragement mila Bhagwan se? So, but Prabhupada was very encouraged because it was the mission of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He knew that he will send people. He will send the people. And he said that you are all the representatives of my Guru Maharaj. You are all helping me. And he started crying. You are all helping me to fulfill his order. So he had full conviction that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has told, so it will happen. He had full conviction in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction of Prithvitya Chayata Nagaradi Ram Sarvatra Prachar Hoive Moranam. Because he had full conviction, that is why he could present the subject without dilution also. International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in the West, to speak about Krishna so directly. If you hear even the first few lectures of Prabhupada, sometimes he says, This has been told by Vishnu Swami, Nimbark Swami, Ramanacharya, Madhvacharya. Now you may think, अरे वेस्ट में ये लोगों को क्या समझ आएगा, कौन है ये भाई? But he is not here to please the mind and senses of the Western people. He is there to represent the previous acharyas. And how many of you feel that what Prabhupada spoke, sometimes you feel ये बाहर के लोगों को क्या समझ आया होगा, you feel sometimes that I personally, when I would hear, I would feel कि हिप्पी लोगों को ये कितना बड़ा भगवद गीता का फिलोसफी ऐसा ऐसा डायरेक्ट बोल रहे हैं, थोड़ा तो कुछ एक स्वीट तरीके से कुछ बोलने, बट पक्का actually his sweetness is of the conviction of the heart in shelter of the parampara, and he was speaking as it is just, and because of that he transformed so many people's lives. They saw the genuinity of Prabhupada, they saw the purity of Prabhupada. So purity of the message was kept, purity of the motivation was kept in his heart. Message was as it is, and with interest for the people. Like see, here it is written, can present the matter for a particular circumstance in a suitable manner. And later on, he's saying it should be presented in an interesting manner for the audience, understanding of the audience. So, like, one hippie asked that Swamiji, how is spiritual world? What is spiritual world? Now, how can Prabhupada say that there is, Radha Krishna Leela and, there is prema, bhakti, all that stuff? It's so tough for that hippie, stoned on drugs. What do you really understand about it? So Prabhupada said, well, spiritual world is an ocean of LSD. So now for this hippie, this is good enough, Oh, if it's an ocean of LSD, for little LSD, I can give my life. Ocean मिल गया तो अभी तो जो भी करने को बोलोगे, स्वामी जी आप बोलो क्या करना. That doesn't mean Prabhupada is diluting that there will be LSD for you there and you don't have to give up LSD or something. Prabhupada is stepwise bringing them to the reality of the joy of spiritual life. Prabhupada was amazing. Actually, the way he transferred Krishna conscious principles into the lives of people. Like Prabhupada knew that we are passionate. So we are so passionate. So we imagine he had told chant 64, chant 192. तो पूरा दुनिया बोलता बाय बाय प्रभु, आप जाओ प्रभुपाद, आप वृंदावन में भजन करो अपना, But Prabhupada said, you should do something big for Krishna, Like, in Pandal program in Bombay, he said, if you all young Americans cannot do something big for Krishna, then what is the use of your being Americans, So he's titillating the false ego of these people. Now, you can say, Are American, you are saying, Prabhu, we are not the body, but the soul. How can we call we are American? We are not the American only, we are actually soul. But Prabhupada knows, अगर इनको बोला त्रिनादपि तो वो त्रिनादपि होगा नहीं, वो चला जाएगा, उसका पैशन को पहले यूज करो, बाद में वो पैशन यूज करते करते खत्म हो जाएगा, and then you will come to the reality of त्रिनादपि. तो शुरू में बोला त्रिनादपि तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. So what he said, you should do something big. Big means what? He will consume full energy of his in Krishna's service. That is big. So Prabhupada knew how to change the hearts of devotees, hearts of living entities, by practically applying it for them. So he knew theoretical knowledge how to be transferred. He knew how to transfer the abhideh. He was not just trying to dictate the four regulative principles. He knew how to handle it. So realizations give that kind of a shakti to do it. One is not just mechanically applying some lectures. Like I hear Radheshampu, we made some syllabus. So sometimes our voice devotee also doesn't know why he is giving this lecture. लेकिन जो भी बोला बोल देते हैं, चलो बोल रहे हैं, बोलने को ये नोट्स है, बड़े नोट्स को बोल देते हैं. अब that's a good beginning, Like Radheshampu also shares that when he started preaching, how he would do? He made notes from Devamrit Prabhu's lectures, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj lectures, and he would just repeat. He would read and then share a little more. So he was like kind of repeating the message and also elaborating a little, because he knew Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj speaks very beautifully, speaking Prabhupada's content and analogies, examples, concept, analogy, example, and practical situation relevance. So Radheshampu copied that style. So in ISKCON movement, copy paste is a glory. When Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was asked by some person, your commentary of Bhagavad Gita looks like Ramayacharya only. He said, yes, this is my glory. This is my credit. There is no other credit. अरे कॉपी करने में क्या क्रेडिट, यही तो क्रेडिट है कि कॉपी किया है, नो कुछ और नहीं बोला, नो. But copy is not like, copy paste. Copy means there is no new message, but the message is new because of the relish that he has got of the same message. No? That means we can present in a suitable manner. Like imagine, suppose some preacher, we are going for device giving. Our boys are going for device giving. So suppose he says, you are not the body, you are the soul. And then this person says, why you are saying like this? No, Radheshambhu told, or Prabhupada told. No, what are you saying, Prabhu? Do you also believe in it? So the point is, we should have a practical understanding and to some degree a realization of the subject also which we are speaking. Otherwise, we cannot present it effectively. We will be speaking baba 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 baba. We will be just अरे वो notes में क्या था याद नहीं आ रहा, point क्या था, point बताओ point. We will be just speaking some points. But if we have heart, we have realizations, then we can speak with heart. We can very just share what the acharyas have shared, because we are ourselves convinced of it. That means we have digested that knowledge. Like the I give a simple example. Like theoretical knowledge is like you know that gulab jamun is sweet, and then understanding is okay. There is sucrose, glucose, fructose, all that stuff. So you may say, oh, glucose है तो थोड़ा sucrose भी है ना, sucrose मतलब sweet होगा वो. you know. So that is understanding only. But you have not eaten the gulab jamun. But realization means आपने खा लिया अभी मन. It is gulab jamun is sweet, Baba. So these gyanis, they keep tasting the honey of Krishna consciousness from outside only. They lick the bottle from outside. But devotees are tasting the joy of Krishna consciousness because they are relishing it. They're relishing it. They're experiencing the real juice of Krishna consciousness, Keval Ananda Kanda. And it doesn't take to become an acharya to have realizations. One should not think, अरे तो हम तो छोटे से लोग हैं, अभी हमारे अंदर क्या रहे? No, every small devotee also has some realization. Otherwise, how is he going on? He cannot go on and on giving up all the lower things. कुछ तो चाहिए ना उसको, कुछ अपने खुद के लिए भी. Sometimes we may be going on a little bit on the beautiful wave of association of devotees, but we cannot just go on and on like that. Like we will see soon about when realizations get tested, whether we have realization or just we are floating. So, so the point here is we should be able to present the matter in an interesting manner in a particular circumstance. How to present particular circumstance means, like say when Prabhupada went to the West, if he says mukut, so people in the Western world will say ye kya hai, mukut. They right now they don't connect to mukut. Mukut means the crown, but Prabhupada said helmet. And when Prabhupada had to talk about Brahmaji as the creator, he said he's the first engineer of this world, So then people's mind will be, engineer, samajh aa raha hai, so Prabhupada would transfer the subject. Like now in the Vedic text, it is written as Rath, the chariot body analogy is given. But Prabhupada gave car body analogy, He also spoke chariot body analogy, but for new people, he would say car body analogy. Driver and car. Similarly, soul and the body. So now imagine you say chariot, कुछ chariot देख ही नहीं रहा व्यक्ति, उसके जीवन में chariot है ही नहीं, तो उसको समझ नहीं आएगा chariot क्या है, chariot बोल रहे हैं. So nowadays, if you give some examples like milking of a cow, sometimes people don't know cow gives milk. They think mother dairy is a milk आता है ना. They don't know cow gives milk. They can't distinguish between mother cow and the bull. वो सब एक ही जैसे लगते हैं उसको, बुल भैंस, भैंस है या बैल है या गाय है, कुछ पता ही नहीं है. तो उसको अगर थोड़े भागवतम के एनालॉजीज समझाओ तो उसको कुछ समझ ही नहीं आता. उसको लगता है ये क्या है भाई, क्या, they can't understand because they have not lived in villages. So sometimes the analogies go completely off. Like in the description of the autumn season, there are many analogies which are connected to village life. So if a person has not lived in villages or at least gone to villages, he will think क्या है, हम तो roads में काम करते हैं, तो he cannot understand that when you walk in the grasses, then the pagdandis are found, the small lanes are found. So point is, if someone has not got that, then he will not connect to it. So Prabhupada knew how to transfer the subject into the lives of people according to what they know, you know, how they can understand it. You know. So Prabhupada was very practical. If you see, he would talk to businessmen in business language. He would talk to, like, one time he was talking to a car racer. So he knew this fellow is intoxicated on in that I'm a big racer man. So for a long time he talked, okay, how do you drive this car and all that stuff. He talked about car racing. So you may think, yeah, Prabhupada is talking Prajalpa about car racing. And then Prabhupada asked a question. So are there sometimes accidents also? Yes, Swamiji, accidents are very frequent. And sometimes people die also. Yes, Swamiji, people die also. So death is waiting for everyone. Then he went in, cut, divine knowledge coming in. So he was just, trying to shape the subject in such a way that he feels Swamiji is with me. And then he put such a punch that Swamiji is, he is with Swamiji then. You know? Like Prabhupada went when Alfred Ford came to him, Amrish Prabhu. So Prabhupada just said one line. That was good enough for Alfred Ford. He knew how to transfer divine knowledge. What he said, where is Henry Ford? Dhad, 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 dhad. Amrish Prabhu himself shares that that moment, all my, the riches which I have, all the wealth became futile. I understood what Prabhupada said. One statement, where is Henry Ford? Actually, he took away the rug below my feet. Everything is gone. He understood that Henry Ford is dead and gone. I will be also dead and gone. So better don't rely on this foolish idea. And you know what impressed Henry Ford most, or Amrish Prabhu most? He said, this person never treats me like some special person. He doesn't treat me like, oh, I'm the industry owner or something. He always treats me like one of his disciples who needs to be improved, who needs to be helped. So he was always trying to serve Amrish Prabhu also like a soul should be served. So such a deep realized personality like Prabhupada would always be able to transfer the subject of divine knowledge in a very practical manner for people. I can keep giving you more examples of Prabhupada, how he spoke, like, morning walks, how he would share, seeing the ducks. So what do you understand, when grains were being given to ducks, and then, one duck, other duck, and one is, and then most people were feeding her only. So then Prabhupada said, so what do you understand? And then what do you think, what to understand? Ducks are there, grains are there. And then Prabhupada said, see, the duck that quacks the most gets the most. Similarly, if you cry to Krishna properly, if you actually chant properly, then Krishna will give you maximum. No? And Prabhupada, one time he saw the droppings of a bird. He said, what do you understand? Then what are you thinking? Bird dropping में क्या समझने का? Bird dropping है, It is the stool of the bird. What to understand? Then some devotee thought कुछ तो दिमाग लगाना होगा. So Prabhupada, are you talking about the pattern which is there in the bird? He said, no, nothing about it. This shows that everyone likes to have a stable position. Done the droppings every day. That is why this place only is dirty with that. That is why, so one should understand, everyone wants a stable position. But this world is not a stable position. So one should go for eternal life. See, from bird droppings, he is getting realization of eternal life. So he can present a map. Actually, devotees would go for morning walk. First, actually, when Prabhupada started going for morning walk, many people started eventually joining because they understood, अरे Prabhupada पूरा दुनिया को देख के कुछ बताने वाले हैं. So when we have realizations, we see this world with a divine, sight. Shastra Chakshu becomes live. So whatever we see, we can bring out some lessons. So that kind of a thing becomes a great ornament for a preacher. And it was an exciting thing for all the disciples to watch. What would Prabhupada say now? इसको देख के क्या बनेंगे, उसको देख के क्या बनेंगे, So every day was a great joy to be with Prabhupada that way. Morning walk was not so much for chanting for them. They were thinking, अभी Prabhupada कुछ बोलने वाले, They were looking forward to hear from Srila Prabhupada what way he sees this world. Because the world is seen through the eyes of a great soul very differently than what we see. So Prabhupada would see, he saw this, people are, doing sea surfing. And then Prabhupada said, what is this? They said, Prabhupada, this is called sea surfing. Surfing? Suffering, huh? Suffering? No, surfing, Prabhupada, surfing. Oh, suffering. You call it surfing, I call it suffering. Because this fellow is trying to do this, surfing as if he is doing some wonderful thing. but he's basically living like a fish. He likes to be in the waters. So next day he will become a fish. So this is suffering, you know. Then one time he was on the beach and one fisherman came. So I'm, sir, you also have a fish. He said, no, you enjoy. And then devotees were thinking, how can Prabhupada say you enjoy? And then Prabhupada turned his face to the other side and suffer. And suffer. So Prabhupada is always filled with realizations. His heart is always filled with the thoughts of divine wisdom coming into practical life. So that way we can present the particular matter in a suitable manner. Hmm? So, and then while speaking on a subject, the original purpose of the text must be maintained. What does that mean? Well, original purpose of the text must be maintained because there is a, see, imagine, say, we are speaking on the subject of science of soul, and we don't talk the purpose of the science of soul, like we don't tell four regulative principles, we don't do science of soul, we just want to do some mumbo jumbo, some talks which look sweet to the people. So then the purpose is getting lost. So original purpose is to give divine knowledge that should be maintained by the speaker. And even if he's making it interesting, you know the interesting point is not the only thing. So our speech should be authentic, it should be pleasing, and it should be relevant. you know so then it becomes a proper subject discussion, and we should digest what the master is trying to share, then repeat it with the purpose of the master kept intact. That is why, like, if you like voice speakers, when they give lecture, they should understand what Radheshampu is trying to give and repeat the examples. But first you understand the purpose, then what happens is you will share the subject in your own dynamic way. Otherwise, you will be copy pasting. You know, if say a device giver is giving first time when I give device session 3 4, na, first time in my voice days, so I gave it for 3 hours. 3 hours. बेचारे नो वो फर्स्ट ईयर बॉयज 3 घंटे उनको मैं why? Because I was literally copy pasting राधे शैम्पू. पूरा लेक्चर मैंने ट्रांसक्राइब कर लिया, है ना, ऐसे पढ़ रहा हूँ, बच्चे भी बेचारे नो बहुत आदरणीय थे, इसलिए वो लोग सुन भी रहे थे. 3 घंटा बैठ गए, एक 3 घंटे का मूवी भी नहीं बनाते आजकल तो लोग. बट if you have the clarity of the purpose, and then see what happens. Radheshampu speaks the subject in 1.5 hours, and then suppose I am hearing it and I make notes, then to repeat that will take 2.5 hours. And if I have some personal things to share on that, then it will become 3.5 hours. So that's why we have to have the original purpose practically there with us, and then we can have our own examples, analogies on it. We are not just copy pasting. Like imagine Radheshampu shares from his childhood days some example. Doesn't mean we have to share Radheshampu childhood days example only. But the principle, the purpose, what he's sharing from his childhood days should be known to us. So if the original purpose is kept, and then we give our own situations, what we lived with, then it becomes very dynamic for people to appreciate. Imagine we are giving some third parties examples, then people may relate to him, but they will, when we speak from our own situations also, but the purpose is not diluted. Like sometimes, some people crack jokes, in the classes. Joke cracking is not so wrong. It's okay. Sometimes people sleep, ऐसा नींद आने लगता है, थोड़ा बीच में joke मार देते हैं, So some people crack jokes, but the jokes are good. But after the joke, if there's no divine lesson only, so the joke should be connected to the principle that we are teaching in the divine knowledge. Otherwise, jokes are prajalpadam. And sometimes people catch jokes only, and they don't catch the original purpose only. If you ask, it's a joke to bola tha, like Gaurang Prabhu sometimes to keep our voice and like gives a joke, but his lecture has a lot of profound lesson from that joke. वो लेसन भूल जाता है, वो बस जोक ही याद रह जाता है उसको. तो फिर उसको पूछना चाहिए, प्रभु जी इससे लेसन क्या मिला आपको? लेसन क्या? लेसन तो याद नहीं प्रभु जी, बस जोक याद आ गया मुझे. So sometimes speaker may be bona fide, but the audience may have its own filters. They want to get jokes. So original purpose of the text. Imagine I want to catch some new points only, and then we will like to um, not catch the essence actually. We have to catch essence very clearly. And also it says no obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, you know. Like sometimes people have their intellectual speculation. Prabhuji, can I present this new analogy? ये बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है मेरे को, you know. So अपना analogies or examples और वो सब देने में we have to be very clear. It should not have obscure meaning or it should not lose the original purpose. Like obscure meaning means what? Like sometimes people want to, like Ginsberg said to others that actually when you chant Hare Krishna, na, some extra oxygen gets released in the body, and then you get, you know, energy in the body. So, but this is all concoction, you know. This is not proper. So okay, you are getting some high energy. Why you are going high forever? So, but he is making a theory of his own, you know. Like that, we should not become speculative people trying to get some, because I want some realization. ऐसे तो आ नहीं रहा, तो थोड़ा सा थोड़ा, you know, intellectually उसको घुमा घुमा के I should screw out a meaning, you know. So sometimes people derive some lessons by trying to intellectually contemplate without having any realizations. So what happens then? The contemplation becomes only an intellectual exercise. It has nothing to do with the original meaning of the text actually. You know? So with this, we go into the next point. How to get personal realizations. Of course, we have 10 minutes only. We'll just go quick to it. Pursue a dialogue with ourselves. See, realizations is the asset of a Vaishnava when he goes out to preach and for his own personal life and to see this world in the proper way. So it is very important for us that we do a contemplation on where I am, you know, not that we simply bank upon other people's realization. Like imagine we are going for, okay, well, I'll just read these points and then I will share examples on this. Why am I preaching? How convinced I am? Do I really believe in Krishna as the highest expression of God? Like imagine someone is going out to preach. I gave you example of a device preacher not having conviction in science of soul. So when we are going out to preach also, are we preaching because, you know, I feel this is the wonderful, most important message to give, or we want to prove to others, you know, अभी तो मेरे पास ऐसा knowledge आया, इसको फोड़ देंगे, you know, इसको, you know, सबको पिटाई हो जाएगा, you know. Why am I preaching? How convinced I am, you know. So sometimes people are preaching because it's the order of the superior, but the order of the superior should be accompanied with also a realization of one's own, which says that yes, this is the most important thing for the world. So the more we develop that conviction in the heart, that is the meaning of realization. We are ourselves getting some realizations which are making us so ecstatic that chai, अरे ये तो जाके बताना चाहिए. We are reading a Prabhupada book and we are feeling क्या कुछ ठीक है, पढ़ना है, कोटा पूरा करना है, कोटा पूरा हो गया, कुछ समझ ही नहीं आया ज़्यादा, ठीक है, पढ़ने को बोला था तो पढ़ लिया. Of course we should continue doing that even if we don't get realization, but point is if we get, then you say jai क्या बोला, अरे वाह, now let me share this. So that joy is very important also. And then only the preaching will become more effective. So are you preaching on a personal conviction that we have something important to offer others? That's what I say. Or are we preaching because Prabhupada told us? So then this is from Satyasru Maharaj's book, Vaishnava Compassion, this whole section which is being read. Discover pockets of resistance to bolster our faith. See, sometimes devotees, even when they grow for many years, sometimes they grow for 10 years, 20 years also, but they have some doubts in their mind. You know? So that will not allow us to feel ecstatic in devotion service. So those doubts we should openly ask to our superiors and seek help. No? Otherwise, we will not grow. That doubt will kill us inside. No? And then we will be, you know, one day Ram Nam Satya, you know. Other devotees will say, इतना अच्छा devotee था, क्या हो गया उसको? Ram Nam Satya does not mean that suddenly he will drop from Krishna consciousness. Actually, it goes slowly. Like, you know, the termites eat from inside, no? Similarly, doubts eat from inside. And one day the whole beam will fall off when the whole termite has eaten the wood. No? Similarly, the devotee gradually becomes dilute in his own consciousness, and then Maya Devi says, "Chalo, abhi bahut acha lag raha hai." She gives an attractive proposal and he goes away. And also, we should see, like, you know, suppose we are going in Harinam Sankirtan. So if we are going on Harinam Sankirtan, sometimes a very wonderful leader, Harinam Sankirtan leader is going out, Jai, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, and then we are going behind him. So he is going out, let everyone get holy name, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, 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 सुनो सब लोग सुनो Hare Krishna. But what we are thinking, अरे लोग देख रहे हैं मुझे बाहर स्ट्रीट में देख रहे हैं पहली बार ऐसे लोग क्या सोचेंगे am I really I will my prestige as an engineer. That means we are in the bodily concept of life, so we are not able to feel the joy. पूरी दुनिया को बता दूंगा कि कृष्णा ही भगवान है, कृष्णा ही सेवा करनी चाहिए कृष्ण की, और हरि नाम ही सार है, सबको बता देना चाहिए. अरे तुम भी सुनो हरे कृष्णा. When we are going for Hari Nam, when I give prasadam to devotees, to outside people, I say please chant Hare Krishna बोलिए, please बोलिए. So sometimes other devotees are doing that, then I tell them please tell them to chant Hare Krishna. बोलते Hare Krishna. बोले इतना सॉफ्टली क्यों बोलो, प्रेम से बोलो, लेकिन अच्छे से बोलो ना, हरे कृष्णा है ना. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू योर कन्विक्शन यू विल एक हरे कृष्णा सुन लिया ना तो पार हो जाएगा इसका दुनिया से. तो मोर यू फील जॉयफुल इन योर ओन चैंटिंग, योर ओन श्रद्धा और भक्ति, देन यू विल लाइक टू शेयर इट आल्सो विद अदर्स. अदरवाइज यू से ब्रेक कब खत्म होगा, माय इमेज इज एट स्टेक, we will be lot image conscious, will not be Krishna conscious, will be image conscious. Like when you go for book distribution, in book distribution also sometimes people think, I am selling a book, log kya sochenge, I am selling, oh my god, no, I have become a bookseller, no, salesman ban gaya main, people have some their own level of consciousness na. So then they think कि अरे घर पे भी सेल्समैन आता था, वो जो डिटर्जेंट का सैशे लेके, मैं भी शायद अब इस सेल्समैन ही बन गया है ना. So people have their own level of conviction because they have not risen above the bodily concept of life. They have not tasted the joy of Nityanand Prabhu. द्वारे द्वारे गया, अरे वाह, कृष्णा लो बाबा, कृष्णा लो, सब लोग कृष्णा. And they have not tasted ये प्रभुपाद बुक में क्या रखा हुआ है खजाना. So they are thinking ये देना पड़ रहा है, बोले क्या है ना. So like that what happens is we should go out with the enthusiastic souls, but we should catch on to their realizations also as we go on, so that we ourselves are enjoying it, relishing it. Otherwise we may be just sharing it because बोल रहे हैं सबके साथ जा रहा हूँ, लेकिन अंदर से it is going on. So one should know that I'm weak here, let me develop this strength. And actually, if you go out for book distribution, you get a lot of joy, lot of joy. When you meet new people, you think, Jayapataka Maharaj, what he said? He said, preaching means you are praying to Krishna, please convince this soul, because you are sitting as the Paramatma in the heart. That is preaching. So when we actually go out to book distribution, it is actually for Paramatma realization. If you want Paramatma realization, you should go out for book distribution. When you go out for book distribution, you have to think, क्या बोलूं इसको कि आज ये कृष्णा ले ले मेरे से, कृष्ण भगवान है, कृष्ण ये बुक की तरह आ रहे हैं, ले लो भाई. लेकिन I am not empowered, but if Krishna gives him the faith, तो वो चला जाएगा वो. So my Paramatma should transfer the joy, transfer the point to his Paramatma, Paramatma interaction, so if Paramatma from his side says, like sometimes we say इतना अच्छा book है, उतना अच्छा book है, और उसका भी conviction आ जाता है कि ले लेता हूँ. फिर उसकी वाइफ बोलती है, अरे ये क्यों ले रहे हो. ठीक है, वाइफ को फिर उसका वाइफ को इम्प्रेस करने के लिए वो बेचारा वो हैंड पैक्ड हस्बैंड की तरह उसको दे देता है वापस बुक. लेकिन अगर अंदर से कन्विक्शन आ रहा है, उसको लग रहा है ये बुक चाहिए मुझे. So then, I was distributing in Hinjawadi. I was, just showing Bhagavad Gita, as chilla ke bol raha hu. Ready, traffic is going gad gad. And then, I was just saying Bhagavad Gita, koi aa jaye, koi to aa jaye. Then one man, he was just rushing in the bike. He just stopped the bike in the middle only. When I was saying Bhagavad Gita. पीछे सारे कार्स ने ब्रेक लगाया, क्या हो रहा है, And then he came to me, Bhagavad Gita. Arey, I was looking for you people. Give me this Gita. I want to join. So I am saying Bhagavad Gita. I don't know which fellow is having the conviction, but Paramatma pakad lega usko. So you have to pray to Paramatma. Paramatma उस जीवात्मा को भेज दो जिसके पास आपके लिए सुकृति है, So you get realization, you feel joy, यही तो चाहिए था, जीवात्मा मिल गया एक भगवान के लिए, So we should go out and share Krishna and you will feel more and more joyful. Okay, so now, okay, I'll just read this through because time is up. Who is a preacher? A preacher gives Krishna to others. He helps others to come closer to Krishna, makes others feel closer to Krishna, and attracts people to Krishna by understanding through his deep conviction rather than pushiness or dishonest preaching techniques. So imagine, one of our brahmacharis went to क्या बोलते हैं, Kumbh Mela, and in Kumbh Mela, this Brahma Kumari man came, and then he thought इसको तो आज पूरा धो डालेगा, So he spoke धाड़ धाड़ philosophy this way that way. तो बाद में he came into our inner camp and he said उसको ऐसा पिटाई किया ना कभी नहीं आएगा, है ना, है ना, कभी आएगा ही नहीं, समझ गया वो कि बिल्कुल फिट उसको डिफीट कर दिया हमने, है ना. सो आवर गोल इज नॉट कि बेचारे का लाइक ऑपरेशन सक्सेसफुल एंड पेशेंट इज डेड, अभी वो भगवान की तरफ कभी आएगा ही नहीं, वो बोलेगा ये लोग तो इतना फेनेटिक है. So we should have a way to preach that people feel attracted to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada brought Sally Agarwal and Dr. Mishra also attraction for Krishna. When Dr. Mishra, who was a Mayavadi, proponent of Mayavad, when he got Prabhupada's association in malaria, he treated him in such a way that he said, actually, Prabhupada was loving me as a son and was treating me like a father. He was so beautiful. So even Mayavadis and people who are materialists who had no desire to come to Krishna, but they loved Prabhupada and they loved the way Prabhupada preached Krishna consciousness. Like, Prabhupada, when he went into the garden, so for a stroll, so he was saying hello, hello, and devotees were saying, why Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada would say good morning, sorry, good morning. And devotees would think, we should chant Hare Krishna, Prabhupada. No? So, but Prabhupada would say good morning. So Prabhupada was saying good morning and they were saying good morning. By the third day, Prabhupada would say good morning and they would say Hare Krishna. So not that, it's a stereotype thing that somehow just say, like, one time one sticker was made by one devotee in Pune. He said, hi, hello, chodo, Hare Krishna, bolo. No? So Radhashambhu did not like this, Not that, you have to just, hi, hello, chodo, Hare Krishna, bolo. We are not superficial transferers of Krishna consciousness. We have to be effective transferers. We should know how to present ourselves. We should present Krishna consciousness as it is, and we should represent Krishna consciousness as it is. Like sometimes people, they went to hospital places and they were doing Harinam Sangeet and they said ये तो मरने वाले हैं, इससे पहले इनको हरिनाम दे दो. इतनी जोर से चिल्लाते थे कि we became banned in those places because ये hospital के सामने इतना जोर से चिल्ला रहे हैं, the patients are taking rest and we are shouting at the top of our volumes. So we are feeling we are very compassionate. अरे उस compassion की वजह से पूरा हरे कृष्ण movement को प्रॉब्लम हो गया. In airports we were banned in the in US because we were not proper in our disposition as a Vaishnava. So we should finally see that the people come to the lotus feet of Krishna gradually or fastly, but they should not go away. Like one time, Satsasuru Maharaj writes in this Vaishnava Compassion book that you know he's writing that he was going through, he was getting down from a airplane. So he was rushing through the aisles. And when he was rushing through the aisles, he was banging his bag, to other people. So one woman said, is it against your principles to be is it against your principles of religion to be polite? Are you a monk? Are you a monk? So he was, are you a monk? So they expect the monks will be more, humble and sensitive. But sometimes we carry a, halo over the head and think that we are the great people. हमारे को बाजो हो जाओ, हमारे को पूरी दुनिया को पार लगाना है, सब लोग बाजो हो जाओ, अभी मेरा टाइम नहीं है, बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के लिए जाने का है. अभी सब ऐसा दूसरे लोगों के साथ इतना इंसेंसिटिव हो जाते हैं कि लोग बुक तो एक को बांटा, 10 लोगों को हमने पीछे इतना ऑफेंड कर दिया कि लोग बोलेंगे ये हरे कृष्ण मूवमेंट है क्या. So we should develop the proper representation of the movement also. So realization means we practice Krishna consciousness and share that very happily with others in every situation. So yeah. So yeah. So one with actual conviction can make Krishna consciousness irresistibly attractive. Like if you see Radhesham Prabhu, now he's speaking Utkarsha lectures. He is speaking NOD like anything, nectar of devotion. And boys are feeling so happy with it. It's a pura NOD class Prabhuji ne. But he is giving it and people are relishing also because he is speaking in a way that is very relevant and pleasing to them also. So he had that realization to make it attractive for them. So sometimes people they are speaking lectures, but they speak a lot of philosophy, but they have no intention to transform hearts and life of people. Then they are not preachers; they are just teacher kind of fellow. They don't want to speak for the audience to become transformed. They have a lot of stuff in their own head, and they want to download and feel that I am great. While a pujari who is meditating on his service and thinking, let us decorate the Lordship in such a way that more and more people feel, touched by the wonderful beauty of the Lord. So he is a preacher of Krishna consciousness. Like Jananimas Prabhu would say to us, you are all preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. You are Mayapur Vasis actually. You are preaching the mood of Mayapur is to preach. You are all preachers. You are bringing so many people to Krishna consciousness. You are all actually proper servants of Lord Chaitanya. So this he was telling us, and Krishnanand Prabhu had taken all of us there. So Krishnanand Prabhu said, Prabhuji, we are all bringing flowers to offer to Radha Madhav, and you are stringing all the flowers into a nice garland and offering to Radha Madhav. So actually all of the people are in the mood of preaching, mood of giving out to more people. So that is one code of Prabhupada. Understanding is one thing, and practical application of that understanding is another. But as devotees of Krishna, being engaged in practical work of spreading Krishna consciousness, that is already the highest realization. That's all right. That is our real mission, to deliver the world by preaching Krishna's message to others. But even higher realization, the highest realization is to save oneself. So one time Srila Prabhupada was asked by one devotee, why do you walk like, your head is little up like this, you've seen Prabhupada walks, I say, you've seen that walk? So very royal walk. So Prabhupada said, because we are having the highest philosophy. But then Prabhupada said, do you know there is something higher than the highest philosophy? And then the devotee asked, what, Prabhupada? The practice of the highest philosophy. So one who practices the highest philosophy, he is the most realized person. So Prabhupada is emphasizing that here. So now time is up. These are some points you can take as homework to think on in terms of how we can get realization right. So you can ask questions. If time permits beyond the question, then I will elaborate on this. Okay. Tarun, you want to ask the questions for them?
Yes, Prabhuji. Some of your question you can either raise hand or you can send us on chat. So Prabhuji, I'll paste on the chat box. This question is by Tribhuvan Prabhu from BITS, Hyderabad.
Yeah. How to understand that a Madhyama devotee actually presents philosophy even against listeners, but how to make it relevant to listeners? How to understand that a Madhyama devotee actually presents philosophy even against listeners? Even against listeners means what?
Jivan bro, you can unmute and ask the question.
Prabhuji, he never compromises in presenting the philosophy, but rather speaks for the pleasing Krishna rather than the listeners. Then how can we make it relevant? Means represent there. I want to ask.
Correct. See, one statement I'll read from this book of Vaishnava Compassion by Satyasur Maharaj. He says two things mean compassion. Part of our compassion is to deliver the undiluted message of Krishna. And the other part is to deliver it in such a way that the people are able to take it. So you're getting the point? Like, say a child is there, he needs some medicine, but both kadava medicine hai. So imagine you give the medicine as it is. Oh, he spits it out. Then what is the use of your medicine? Imagine you are giving the greatest amrit of pure devotion service, but no one comes to your lecture. So where the nectar remains with you only. But imagine we dilute the whole thing and we don't give the medicine. we don't give pure devotion services, then also we have lost the game. So undiluted message means the medicine and the gulab jamun, like when the child is given in the gulab jamun, the medicine and the gulab jamun is fed. So now he takes the medicine and the gulab jamun. So that is good. So people should not be running away from us because like there are ways to teach Krishna consciousness. Like imagine you have a bird, there's a hen and you want to feed her grains. Imagine you run after her with the grains. Le lo, kya hoga? What will she do? She'll run away only. She'll think, "Baap re, mere ko maar dalenge." But imagine you just sit in your place and gradually throw little grains. Then what will happen? She will keep taking. She doesn't know where the grain is coming from. She's just taking the grain and gradually she will start thinking, "Arey, kuch acha ho raha hai." So, so point is we don't have to become so pushy that people run away from us. Like Srila Prabhupada, the way he taught Krishna consciousness, he was always encouraging. He was like Sham Sundar Prabhu was making the DT for Jagannath, and then a cigarette packet was on his, on his Jagannath DT, on Balram DT or Jagannath DT ke upar cigarette packet tha. So he was smoking also and making and making a DT of the Lord also. Can you imagine? You can't imagine right now with the standards which we have. But then Prabhupada came and he saw, and then what he did, he just, he flung that cigarette packet and he said, "Don't let a cigarette packet come in between you and Krishna." So he saw the good intention of Sham Sundar Prabhu to come closer to Krishna, but he saw that he's still caught up in this. So how he stated, "Don't let it come in between you and Krishna." That means he kept his intention to come closer to Krishna very much there in the heart. One devotee was, attached to chocolates. So क्या हुआ, जब प्रभुपाद को दंडोत करने गया था, प्रणाम किया, जय नमः, जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस, नमः ओम विष्णुपाद, he said, and his chocolate was in the pocket in the shirt. It came out and it was before Prabhupada. सामने दिख गया प्रभुपाद को. तो अभी क्या छुपाएगा, जब प्रणाम करके उठा तब तक चॉकलेट देख लिया प्रभुपाद ने. So then Prabhupada did not say a word to him. You know what he did? He went inside the kitchen and made chocolate halwa for him. And after chocolate halwa he ate, he said, "Baap re, he said nothing like this." He forgot chocolate forever, after that. So Prabhupada gave higher taste. Prabhupada gave compassionate way of seeing things, not just stereotype ways. So the knowledge is there, but how you transfer knowledge for people is important. How you make them feel sheltered in you, sheltered in the program. Not that, how can, like when Malti Mataji, she came and told that Prabhupada, we have to go to jail because actually first we were selling some drugs actually. So we have to go to jail, for some time, then we'll come back. Prabhupada said, "Don't worry, Krishna also was born in jail." So, and then he said, "I was also selling some drugs in my, when I was a Grahastha man, I was also selling drugs." What drugs he was selling? He was a pharmaceutical man, chemist. But see how he's making them feel with him, not the drugs, maro, So Prabhupada was very compassionate. That's the point, actually. Does that give a clue, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Anup Prabhu is asking, "Thank you for presenting your deep insight on the mood of dependent on previous lecture. When I read Prabhupada books, I don't know how to contemplate. Can you tell how to contemplate, how to do contemplation to understand with relating to our personal life examples? I feel when I hear preachers like Radhesham Prabhu's lectures, nice new examples come to make it interesting. I don't get personally those examples. How to get depth and personal realizations?" Very practical, genuine question. See, this is the gift of parampara, that when we develop realization, then we will see the world and we'll get a lot of examples. Example is not some kind of concoction that comes from external intellectual exercise. It's the gift of the parampara. That is why pratyaksha avagamam dharinam. We can see things in the light of the knowledge. Shastra chakshu becomes manifest into our lives. It is not, see, what we have to do, shavanam. I'll show you the PPT again for that purpose. See, Shavanam means what? First, we have to hear the knowledge as it is. And then After that, we have to do mananam. We have to contemplate on that, reflect on it in different situations, personal situations or situations of the world. Like now, COVID is going on. So, in what all ways I can see COVID? Like I don't know if you all attended my lecture on Corona. Lessons for a sadhaka. So to see the COVID situation from a sadhaka point of view and all the lessons turned in, but not that I was thinking kaise bolu. Actually, I was not trying to derive some lessons. It is just you chant Hare Krishna. Krishna will give lessons. It is not we give lessons. Who has to give lessons? Krishna has to give lessons. So more we practice bhakti and we serve Krishna properly, serve the Guru properly, then the knowledge will descend into our lives to give us many more realizations to relish and then share. And when we share, it will go even deeper. So mananam is contemplation, but this contemplation is to make us understand the knowledge better. Shravanam makes us get theoretical knowledge, and then Mananam gives us understanding by reflection. Okay, we think of different parts of the scriptures saying the same point, different ways, different analogies, examples, some contrasting point. Like imagine we say that Yukta Vairagya means we should engage everything in Krishna consciousness. But we also know, like Sanatana Goswami threw away the Parasmani. So why he threw away? That means there is some problem. Every time we cannot do Yukta Vairagya. So what is that problem? So trying to fully understand the subject in its total purview, picture. That is mananam. And nididhyasana means you're actually absorbed in it and you're trying to apply it. And when you're trying to apply it, you will get your own struggles in application. Like, you may hear Krishna is not different than the holy name, we should chant attentively. But when we try to chant attentively, our mind will start raging a war. And that war, if we view with the struggle to chant attentively, then what will happen? We will get a lot of realizations of our mind's dictations, how mind behaves. So that will help us to speak on the tricks of the mind with more realization. Otherwise, if we are not practicing, we will be just doing blah, 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 blah. But if we are sincerely trying to apply the teachings, the struggles will also give us realizations. Not that struggles don't give realizations. The realizations of a struggling devotee are about what happens with this, how modes act on us. Those modes are acting on us, but sometimes we get help to see the modes as a third party. Like, I'm seeing through these glasses, but I should also see these glasses. अरे यही गंदा है अभी इसको साफ करने का है So when we see through modes, we are bewildered. But sometimes you will see the modes bewildering you. You will not get bewildered. You are seeing the mode trying to bewilder you. That means you have some level of sattva. So then you are able to observe it and you can reflect on it more deeply. And you can apply, oh, Guru ne bola tha, I should not do this, I will not do it. So that is actually a struggle. But the struggle is giving us a realization of how modes act on us. And then we will know, I cannot make it on my own. When we try really our best, then Krishna, we will understand, unless mercy comes, I will not be able to make it. Then we'll do Vandanam, prayers. So prayers make us dependent. And after the prayers, we'll get realizations. Then we'll do Kirtanam also. And not just, see, Kirtanam means we share what we have received. So in the, see the section 1.1.6 to 9, there you should read that as a homework where the qualifications of Suta Goswami are mentioned. And you will see there are first thing which is said is Akhyatani Aditani. He was also speaking what he was reading, what he was hearing. So one should repeat also, one should speak also to others. So Kirtanam is also a very important thing. So preaching, Prabhupada did not include preaching in some kind of Paramahansa mode. He spoke preaching as a sharing mode for getting realizations for a sadhaka also. Not that we are not qualified to preach. Prabhupada told any 2-month devotee also to speak Bhagavatam class. So you all have spent 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years, 5 years. So you should not think that only when I become the realized devotee, one day I will speak. So the realizations, the Prabhupada, some disciples, how he would put in the earphone Prabhupada lecture and put a muffler around himself so that no one knows that I'm hearing Prabhupada lecture. And Prabhupada ka lecture sunte sunte usi ko bad 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 bad, no? So Prabhupada wanted people to speak like that also, no? So we should do kirtanam, and that will give us deeper insight. When many devotees, when they start giving device, they realize what was given in device. No, उससे पहले पता ही नहीं होता उसको डिवाइस में क्या दिया, उसको अच्छा लगा, बहुत बोला तो अच्छा बोला प्रभुपाद ने, प्रभु जी ने अच्छा बोला. When devotees start giving sankalpa, spurti ज्ञान, then they understand, अरे ये दिया है राधे शंपू ने इसमें, है ना. So kirtanam is also very important. So does that? So this is one point about realization getting shavanam to kirtanam. This whole thing is important. Another important principle which is not mentioned here is we should increase our sattva. We should increase our sense control. More we become regulated, sense control, then the mind is aloof from this world. Then it is able to dwell on the spiritual subject. If we are meddling with Maya, then realization will not come. Lust in the Bhagavad Gita said, Jnana, Vijnana, Nashanam. Not only we don't get realization, but if we have Vijnana, Vijnana means realized knowledge. It gets Nash also. It gets finished by lust. So one should know that we should withdraw this world, the senses from enjoying propensities in this world actually. So that is also important. And this other point, Pranipat, Pariprashna and Seva, I think time is not there. So we'll close here. I don't know. If you want more time, maybe I can spend.
We can explain this thing. We can explain this.
So this is a very important subject, Pranipat, Pariprashna and Seva, for realization. See, if you see, if the knowledge has to be received, these three components are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita: Pranipat, Pariprashna and Seva. So there is a very important purport of Prabhupada in this regard. Very important purport. I'll share with you that. Oh. So you are able to, okay. See, this is 2.1.10. So Prabhupada writes in the translation, that very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. You know? So here he says, see, yeah, from here, for advancement of material knowledge, there is need of personal ability and researching aptitude. But in the case of spiritual knowledge, all progress depends more or less on the mercy of the spiritual master. The spiritual master must be satisfied with the disciple. Only then is knowledge automatically manifested before the student of spiritual science. Yasya deve paravakte yatha deve tatha guru tasyaite katitahi artha prakashante mahatmana. When we have implicit faith in the Guru and Krishna, then we will develop realizations. The prakashante mahatmana, divya gyan hidaya prakashito. The imports of the scriptures will be revealed in the heart of a person who has got implicit faith. That is why Prabhupada could understand Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He had entered the heart of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. When he was told when he wrote impersonal calamity thou is removed, thou is sentient, absolute is sentient, thou has proved, impersonal calamity thou has removed. When he heard, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was ecstatic. He said, he has understood my heart. Whatever he says, print it. Like Rupa Goswami was, Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam. He understood the Mana Abhishta, the desire of the Mana in the Mana of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he could manifest all these wonderful scriptures like Updeshamrit and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and all. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada understood the heart of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. One who has entered the heart of the master, he can understand everything. All the knowledge comes. So that is why satisfaction of the spiritual master. Prabhupada writes in that Tadvidi Pranipati verse, success in spiritual life lies in satisfying the self-realized spiritual master. So here he says, the process should not, however, be misunderstood to be something like a magical feat whereby the spiritual master acts like a magician and injects spiritual knowledge into his disciple as if surcharging him with the electric current. So you have understood who is he talking about? He's talking about one Paramahansa person who said he is Paramahansa and he kicked his disciple And he said, by kicking, I have lost all my energy. Now I'm powerless. My disciple has got all my energy. Prabhupada said it's not like some kind of electrical discharge that the guru loses his knowledge and the disciple gets that knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is not like that. So, and it's not some kind of magical feat. Prabhupada says that the guru instructs the disciple publicly in the ear, publicly in the he speaks, and we have to hear. So the transfer of knowledge is practical. So Prabhupada writes further here: the Monofied spiritual master reasonably explains everything to the disciple on the authority of Vedic wisdom. So see, first of all, he's talked about mercy. Now he's saying what? He has to reasonably explain everything to the disciple on the authority of Vedic wisdom. So pariprashnena is very important, where there is a inquisitive nature of the disciple to learn the subject. Not that Gyan is not important. I don't want to understand knowledge of the Gita. I don't want to understand scriptures. Arey sab mercy se aata hai. This person is basically lazy fellow who says like this. Krishna in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that Siddhanta boliya chitta na kare alas. Iha lage Krishna sudrida manas. One should actually love to understand Siddhanta properly. So Guru tries to reasonably explain everything. That means he is giving some wisdom. But then he says the disciple receives such teaching not exactly intellectually. अरे तो wisdom गया reasonably, लेकिन digestion हुआ not intellectually. तो कैसे हुआ digestion? But by submissive inquiries and service attitude. Because I want to learn from this master. Like Prabhupada, when he was sitting in this place, when Vrindavan, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur was speaking, he was not able to understand everything. Prabhupada said he was speaking such hi-fi English, everything was not, it is not intellectually understandable. But the spiritual world was being revealed to me. You should read that section of Lilamrit where he met Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur and how he actually gets the message from Bhaktivedanta Thakur. What is going on in his life? That's another full lecture to actually relish. So spiritual master is going to give that knowledge to a person who has got the right understanding of bhakti. Like Suta Goswami was sitting in the audience of thousands of people. Not that Shukdev Goswami was personally available to him to talk to him. But at the end of the whole lecture of Shukdev Goswami, he told that after some time, this Suta Goswami will present the same subject to another set of people actually. Why? Radhanath Maharaj elaborately talks on it in one lecture. He says that actually, no matter you are sitting in a public audience of so many people, but Krishna is seeing in the heart, and according to our sincerity of purpose, sincerity of our hearts, Krishna will actually reveal the knowledge. Although he was sitting in the audience, but Shuta Goswami is being watched by Shukdev Goswami. The Guru knows, the Supreme Lord knows, Krishna Vandya Jagat Guru, So he knows that actually who is a sincere disciple, who is looking for the real thing, and that person will be revealed that knowledge. So although Suta Goswami was sitting in the audience of so many sages, but he had actually got the divine wisdom. And you will read in 1.6, 1.1.6 to 9, when you read that section, you will see that actually it is very clearly said that he had won the blessings of the great souls. So because of that, it was revealed. So submissive inquiry and service attitude. So if you hear the examples like why Dasarathi was told to go and serve Atulai by Ramanacharya when he asked what is the meaning of Sarva Dharman Parityaja, because Ramanacharya is not here to give us some mundane knowledge. He wanted to give him divine knowledge. So he understood if he becomes a submissive servant, then he will get this understanding of Sarva Dharman Parityaja. So he sent him. When Anantacharya was asked to give the message of who is a Vaishnava, when Parashar Bhatt had sent one devotee to ask Anantacharya who is a Vaishnava, so first Anantacharya made him serve so many Vaishnavas. So by that he got the strength of character to actually digest the wisdom of who is a Vaishnava. अरे who is a Vaishnava बोलने को बोलेगा one who chants holy name once also is called a Vaishnava. उससे कुछ समझ नहीं आया. Realization of who is a Vaishnava will come when we have served the master and pleased him. Then he will reveal it to us. Like that, I can give you many more examples. Like that South Indian Brahmana, He was not able to understand the Gita, but he was serving the order of the master by faithfully trying to hear the Gita, read the Gita. And thus, he was getting the realization of Parthasarthi. He was seeing the Lord's Bhakta Vatsalta. So Lord Chaitanya said, you have understood. So it's not an intellectual exercise to understand the scriptures. It is coming by mercy. That is a tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So this is a very important thing to understand actually. That Vaishnavas give us the mercy to understand scriptures. Okay, so I think now I should, any other Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Prabhu, Tarun Mohan Prabhu, you can tell. I have gone out of time.
Any other questions, Prabhuji? Devotees? So as of now, no questions, Prabhuji. So we'll
Okay, good.
end here.
Thank you for
So
giving.
we'd like to thank Prabhuji for giving his valuable time and sharing such a deep knowledge, like how bhakti is based on relationship, not on knowledge, and realization is very deep conviction within our heart. And Prabhuji told us, we get realization by mercy, by submissive inquiry, and by service attitude. And Prabhuji also told that we have to increase our sattva, self-control, be aloof from the world to get realizations. And I also like the point Prabhuji shared that our struggles to practice Krishna consciousness also give us realization. So we are very, very grateful to his guest, Antardvipa Prabhu. Mahaprabhu would just call in afternoon and Prabhuji agreed for giving his valuable time. We are very, very thankful, Prabhuji. And many of my questions also got solved. I thought of asking some of the questions that got answered in this class. Thank you very much. Let us thank Prabhuji by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol!
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Just one statement which you mentioned in the end and summarizing, I think I should clarify. We need jnana, but that jnana should not be seen as the ultimate. The jnana should lead to bhakti. We should know realization is in relationship. Jnana is important limb of bhakti. Jnana viragya sahitam, actually. Jnana and the actions in bhakti, karma and vairagya, all these should be practiced, but as a service to bhakti, for relationships, then it will be actually proper. Like prashna is also important. No, if person is not having inquisitiveness, then also there will be problem. So we should have the proper balance of things. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So next week we'll meet again Sunday at around 3 o'clock. And most probably we will have association of His Grace Sitaram Prabhu.
Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna. So stay tuned.
Hari
By default, every Sunday join at 3 o'clock. Hare Krishna. So we'll end here.